Good afternoon and welcome all of you. So today I am here again to discuss with you a new current affairs issue in detail. So today we will be discussing the current political situation in Kyrgyzstan. So Kyrgyzstan is the Central Asian nation which was till 1991 it was a pro-USSR ally. So as you all know that during Cold War the world was divided into two blocks. One was headed by the USA and other by USSR. So most of these East European countries and the Central Asian nations, they were under the control of Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, which disintegrated in 1991. And from where we see the independent emergence of the Kyrgyzstan as a modern secular democratic republic sovereign state. So this is the origin. Now the current political situation would be better understood if I explain to you certain constitutional provisions. So the constitution of Kyrgyzstan was made after 1991. So one unique thing about Kyrgyzstan is that it is the only democratic country in the Central Asian nations. Second thing, this 1991 constitution was amended by a referendum in 2010 referendum. So with this certain changes were introduced. For example, a single 6-year term was fixed for president, and he cannot be re-elected for another term. Second thing is, this referendum or this constitutional amendment, it marked a transition of this country from a purely presidential government to parliamentary government. So it marked a slight transition from presidential government to parliamentary government. So some of the president's power, they were delegated to the parliament. So in order to understand this issue further, I will also explain some of the other provisions of the constitution of this Republic of Kyrgyzstan. One other provision is that it has a unicameral legislature of 120 members. So the parliament comprises of 120 members. Jogorku Kanesh. So you must be wondering what is this Jogorku Kanesh? Actually this is the name of the parliament of the Kyrgyz Republic. So Jogorku Kanesh is the unicameral house. That means in Kyrgyzstan there is only a single house, that is Jogorku Kanesh, and it has 120 members. These 120 members, they are elected directly, okay, and for a period of 5 years. So the last elections which were held in 2015 and now 2020 October elections were held for this parliament. October 2020, 4th October. And the main political crisis, it emerged after this 4th October parliamentary results. So what happened now, I will explain you. There is one other provision under this constitution that any party which receives less than 7% votes would not be represented in parliament, would not get represented in parliament. So you need to achieve at least this threshold criteria of 7%. So that means any party which achieves less than 7% of the total votes polled would not be entitled for a seat representation in the single house, that is Jogorku Kanesh. And One other provision is that no single party can have more than 65 members. More than 65 members you cannot have. So first provision is that any party which wants to get itself represented in parliament has to receive at least 7% of the total valid votes. Second thing is, no single party it can have more than 65 members in the 120 members parliament. So this has been a kind of a check. What kind of check? Check on the authoritarian and dictatorial tendencies, which is so common in the Central Asian countries. So they want to ensure that there is no concentration of the power in a single party. So that is why there are many parties in this small Kyrgyz Republic. There are around 16 political parties. So this country supports multi-party democracy. And from 1991 to till 2020, it has remained a democratic country. But the stability, political stability has evaded this country. So in 2005 and in 2010, there was Tulip Revolution, and in 2010 there was Melon Revolution. Through these revolutions, they ousted their president earlier also. Okay. And these president, one of them is living now in Moscow, other one is in Minsk, Belarus. So this is not the first time when the president of this country has stepped away from his post and is now living outside. So this is the present case with the Sooronbay Jeenbekov, who has, although nobody actually knows where he is hiding or where he is working from, but this country actually have a history of political instability or the coups. So, and these are given very kind of famous names. These are Tulip or Melon Revolution. Very interesting names they give to their revolutions. So this is a kind of a coup against the present government of Sooronbay Jeenbekov. Okay. So now the constitutional provisions and the history is clear. So from 2005 to 2020, this is the third time that they have removed their president. And nobody knows where this president is hiding at present. So what actually happened which led to these circumstances? So I told you that the October 2020 elections were due on 4th October, Sunday elections, or also called as Sunday's parliamentary elections result. So on October 4th, parliamentary elections result was announced. And what happened that only one opposition party, that is this Butun Kyrgyzstan, it was only able to achieve the threshold of 7%. And three other pro-government parties, that is the Brindik party, Mechanism party and the Kyrgyzstan party. These were the three pro-government parties. That means they were supported by the government. So they are pro-government parties, and this is the only opposition party that achieved 7% threshold. So that means only these four political parties would get due representation in the Jogorku Ganesh, that is the parliament. All other 12 bodies or 12 political parties, they would not get political representation. Another thing that I would like to explain is the main political party of this country, that is the SDPK. Socialist Democratic Party of Kyrgyzstan. So this Almazbek Atambayev, who was former president and also the founder of this SDPK, this is one of the oldest and most famous political party of this country. Okay, so I think it got around 38 seats in the 2015 elections. And what happened in 2020, that there was a split in this SDPK, because the present president, that is the Surunbay Jeenbekov, he imprisoned Almazbek Atambayev. Not only Almazbek Atambayev was a former president, but was also a mentor to the present president, that is the Jeenbekov. So this Atambayev, who was the former president, was imprisoned on the charges of corruption. Okay. So he was imprisoned on the charges of corruption, and as a result, this split took place, and this new political party was formed by the two sons of Almazbek Atambayev, who was the former president. And this new political party, which is being headed by the sons of the former president, it did not get due representation along with the other 11 political parties. And these political parties, they organized violent protests. And they said that government has engaged in the process of vote buying, voter intimidation. There is large scale corruption. And there have been violent protests in Kazakhstan, especially the capital Bishkek. So there are charges of vote buying, voter intimidation, lack of transparency, and corruption charges. So these are the four reasons why these political parties, they are protesting. That why only the three pro-government supported party, they got the representation, and why only a single political party among other political party was able to achieve this threshold. So now that means that you are trying to sabotage the entire opposition by using this process of vote buying, voter intimidation, lack of transparency, and the corruption. So as a result of this violent protest, when these protesters, they gathered for the public protest, and they captured the parliament's office and the president's office. I guess you will be amazed to learn that there is another White House, and that is in Kyrgyzstan. So the president's office in Kyrgyzstan is known as White House. So they captured the White House. So don't think it as a White House only exists in USA. So the president's office in Kyrgyzstan is also called as White House. So it is a white building that is called as a White House. So they captured the parliament's office as well as the president's office, and as a result, the president has to run away, and he has been in hiding till then. Now on Friday, he declared a state of emergency in order to restore order and the peace in the country. He also offered to resign and form a new interim government, but these political party, they did not agree with him. And not only the violent protests have taken place in this country, but these political parties, they also attacked the prisons where this Almazbek Atambayev was being held as a prisoner. This Sadar Japarov, who has been elected as a new prime minister, he belongs to a party called McCain-Chill party. So he was imprisoned on the charges of kidnapping. So Sadar Japarov and the Almazbek Atambayev, they were released from the prison and by these political parties who were protesting. So leading to a situation of complete political turmoil. So a state of emergency was declared by the President Jeenbekov, who has been in hiding till now. So this is the entire political situation which is prevailing in Kazakhstan at this moment. So my purpose behind making this video was not only to explain this political turmoil, but also to explain the strategic and the political importance of Kyrgyzstan as a separate Central Asian state or as a Central Asian nation. How it is so important, how its location makes it so strategic for so many countries. So you will understand that when I will explain that how Russia, China and USA, they consider it as a very strategic country. So for Russia, as I explained earlier, that till 1991 it was a pro-USSR ally. So it is clear that like USA, Russia also wants to maintain its influence in its former allies. So in 1992, Russia formed a new Collective Security Treaty Organization. It is a kind of a military alliance which includes Russia, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. So this is a kind of military alliance which was formed by Russia in order to have closer political, economic and the security relations with Kyrgyzstan and other Central Asian nations. Not only this, it considers it as its backyard. So when you consider some country as your backyard, so you want to maintain influence there. And for maintaining influence, you want to influence the politics of this country. So Russia maintains good relations with all the political factions in this country, but it does not want any radical group to take on the or to change the rules of political rules in this country. So it maintains its political influence through president or the prime minister or the other political parties. Third, it is important that peace is restored, because Russia at present is trying to restore this political and economic and the security relations with these former Soviet allies in order to improve its influence in the entire region, because it is also of very strategic importance. Strategic importance in the sense that it has gold as well as the rare earth metals. Okay, so it has resources. So every country which has good resources, so others would come to it. Okay, just like USA was attracted towards Iraq, okay, because it has oil wells on which it wanted its control. So it totally destroyed Iraq for its own strategic reasons. Also, Russia has a air force base in Kyrgyzstan. So that explains the importance of Kyrgyzstan for Russia. Why it wants to maintain its political influence. Second thing, Russia is never happy whenever USA tries to intervene in Central Asian or the East European nations. So USA had a air force base in this country, in Kyrgyzstan. But due to pressure from Russia, the parliament of the Kyrgyzstan, it shut down this air force base. Shut down in 2014. So the air force base of USA was shut down in 2014 because of pressure from Russia. So the Kyrgyz parliament, it said that it could not allow any US air force base. Okay. This air force base was used by USA from 2001 to 2014 to meet its logistical and refueling requirements in Afghanistan, because it was engaged in war in Afghanistan, which is it still engaged in. Now coming on to China. Why it is important for China? So China, as you know, that its powers are growing. It is an expansionist country and it is rising at a very fast pace. It wants to increase its influence. It also wants to establish it as a superpower. And Xi Jinping recently in 2009 declared that they want to end the US hegemony by 2050 and they want China to become a superpower. So in order to become a superpower, you need to maintain your economic, political and other kinds of influence in your neighborhood. So China shares a long border with this country, with Kyrgyzstan, land border. So Kyrgyzstan, you know, that is a landlocked country, but still it is a very important country because it is a gateway to Eurasia. Also, one region that shares this boundary with Kyrgyzstan is the Uyghur or Xinjiang Autonomous Region of China, which is for most of the time is disturbed due to the Islamic activities. So for peaceful regions or for peace activities, it is also important in order to control these kind of disturbance activities in the Uyghur Autonomous Region. Also, China is building a lot of infrastructure, rail and road infrastructure in Kyrgyzstan under the Belt and the Road Initiative, under which it wants to restore its Silk Route relations with the Central Asia and Eastern European countries. So now we can understand why it is important for the Chinese perspective. Also, now coming on to India, because in most of the time we are concerned about the Indian interests. And you know that India's interests are never predatory. India has never been exploitative. For example, the Honorable Prime Minister in his recent speech to United Nations General Assembly, he said that India has always been a responsible country in the manner that whenever we were weak, we never became a burden on anyone. And whenever we were strong, we never exploited any other country. So India is known all over the world for its soft power, for its capacity building, for its development partnership, for its financial assistance that we offer. And this kind of our image has also been appreciated in Afghanistan by USA and other countries which are involved there. So we want to maintain this image of a soft power, but we also need to increase our hard power. So soft power is your power of attraction. How do you attract other countries? So for example, we have attracted other countries towards yoga. So we declared the International Day of the Yoga on 21st June. Cricket is one of the aspects of this soft power. Cuisine. Okay, so these are some of the aspects of the Indian soft power. What is hard power? Hard power is mostly military power. Okay, so we want a combination of both these things, but India would always be known as a peaceful country which believes in the peaceful resolution of the disputes. So we would want to expand our soft power in these countries. Just like in Afghanistan, we are known for our soft power, capacity building, infrastructure development activities. Now India, how India's involvement can improve the environment of this Central Asian country. As you know, the Indian government had declared its Connect Central Asia policy. Connect Central Asia policy. Central Asia policy in 2012. So this Connect Central Asia policy was declared in 2012. And under this, the aim was to improve the political, economic, strategic relations with the Central Asian countries of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. So what we are trying to do is to improve the trade relations, political relations by organizing high-level political visits from time to time. Okay. And the most important thing, the strategic relation. So now when China is expanding itself in this country, also one thing that I would like to point out, that China has established very well in these countries while we are playing a very marginal role, because China enjoys a very high bilateral trade with these countries, while our trade has been limited due to the geographical issues, because we do not have a direct connectivity. with this region. So the only connectivity we can have is through maritime route or the aerial route or airways. So for maritime route, what we are doing is we are developing the Chabahar port. From Chabahar port we will be going from Iran to Afghanistan and then to Central Asia. Also, India is also working on the international north-south transport corridor to improve the connectivity from Gulf region to the West Asia and then to Central Asia and East European countries. Airways, what we can do is, although this decision has been in working, or it is being considered that we need to develop an air corridor like the one we have developed with Afghanistan for trade of commodities. What kind of commodities? Perishable commodities. Okay. So this was about trade. Now, when this country is engaged in political turmoil, how India can engage? So you know that India can act as a mediator between these political parties and can resolve this political deadlock. So we know that India is the world's largest democracy, right? Largest democracy, known for our Panchsheel principles. Every country in the world recognizes India's role, right? India's emerging role in the world, in world affairs. So we have started organizing conference with these Central Asian nations in order to improve the relations. But before moving forward, I would like to explain certain facts about this country, that is the Kyrgyzstan Republic. So Kyrgyzstan is rich in gold. So India is one of the largest importer of the gold. So our gold requirements can be fulfilled from this country, that is Kyrgyzstan. 80% of the terrain of this country is mountainous, right? And what are the mountain ranges in this region? That is the Tian Shan and Pamir. So 80% of the terrain of this region is mountainous, dominated by the Tian Shan and the Pamir mountains. So this region is rich in hydropower potential. There is lot of hydropower potential in these Central Asian countries, and India, being an established leader in hydropower, can contribute to the building of this hydropower region and the production of the hydropower. So we have financial capacity as well as the technical capacity to harness this hydropower potential. One other thing that we can do is that we are good in services exports, right? And IT and the technology have acquired prominence in today's world. So we can export our services, softwares to these countries, or especially to Kyrgyzstan, to these countries. So one other thing is that these countries, they come under the extended neighborhood of India. So first of all, we have this policy of neighborhood first. Okay, neighborhood first. And second, we have a policy of this extended neighborhood. Okay, so the Central Asian nations and Kyrgyzstan, they lie in our, sorry for that. So they lie in our extended neighborhood. So even though they lie in our extended neighborhood, but the important thing is that if we want to emerge as a regional power or a superpower in the coming times, we have to expand ourselves not only in the immediate neighbor but also in the extended neighborhood. And we have to find alternative ways like the one we are doing now, whether it is through international north-south transport corridor, Okay, whether it's through the development of Chabahar port, or one other thing that India has recently in 2017 became a member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So we can play an important role in this region through this organization. So I have explained this issue in detail from all the perspectives. We started from the introduction part, we went into the political turmoil, the constitutional provisions, and the main issues behind the current issue, and main issue behind the current political turmoil. So now coming back to the political situation. So as a result of these violent protests after last Sunday's parliamentary elections, the Election Commission of Kyrgyzstan has annulled the results of this vote. So that means new votes will be held soon, and this Sadir Japarov at present has been elected as new PM. So this is the new development there. Elected as Prime Minister. But the state of emergency is still in force. State of emergency still in force. So the main challenge for Kazakhstan or for the Kyrgyzstan in upcoming days is to ensure that a popularly elected government is put into power, and to ensure that there is no instance of vote buying, voter intimidation, there is free and fair elections, as this country organizes voting through the electronic voting machines. So there has to be complete transparency in that thing. So that was the Kyrgyzstan political turmoil. That is all from my side on this issue. If you would like to make any kind of suggestion, improvements that I could make in the further videos, please do that in the comment section. Do post it there. Also, I would request you to please like and share this video as much as possible, which would motivate me to make these kinds of video further. And also you can request me to make any video on any issue of current affairs. I would try to involve that as much as possible. Okay, so see you again in a new lecture. That's all from my side. Thank you.